Morning, friends. How are you? So I thought I would record this quick YouTube live video because I'm starting to see a lot of good interactions on my private Facebook group. This is a group that I just created as a special spot for members of my real estate investing course to go to and ask questions and interact with folks. So I thought I'd record a quick video based on some of the interactions I have seen already. And in this video, as the kind of title highlights, I want to talk about being a landlord because I think there's some subtle surprises that aren't often talked about, but I wanted to share with you. Because again, the whole key to what I teach and what I've done is you have to, buy and hold this rental property for decades. You have to let time, inflation, mortgage pay down, all that stuff be your friend. And in order to do that, you have to run a good business, and that means you're going to have tenants and hopefully have tenants for the long term. So I thought I would just do a quick video and talk about that. First and foremost, what's the greatest expense for landlords? When you look at, our career of now 16 years, and it probably doesn't come as any great surprise, but that's tenant turnover. I don't expect that to be any great revelation because I would hope most of you would guess that. However, what I do notice is when you step back and you really acknowledge that tenant turnover is the great expense and all of that, it's curious that when I talk to landlords and even property managers, and we start talking about tenants, it seems that most people want to talk about the evictions and how to get a deadbeat out or whatever that is, right? How do we go about, removing someone? But when you talk about tenants like that and your focus is on the few, I really think we miss creating that relationship and creating that history with all the great tenants you have. So what I mean by that is, and I actually look for this now in property managers, is when we're talking about tenants, sure, you can talk to me about evictions and how to get people out and cash for keys and all of that. But if we don't speak at least sometime about having good tenants and how to keep tenants and if a tenant is paid you 12 months on time in a row for a whole calendar year, and they're not being a pain for whatever reason, I think they should get a small gift. All right, it doesn't have to be large. It could be a tenant. It could be a repair that you would do elsewise. But the real key with tenants is, you've got to keep the good ones longer. That sounds simple, but not enough people are talking about it, right? If you have 10 tenants, my history says that 8 or 9 of them are going to be fine. And if that's the case, what we should do, because tenant turnover is our most expense, is we should talk about how can we keep these tenants another year. So with that comes lots of ideas. First off, I've already talked about maybe sending a thank you gift or just an acknowledgement or, doing something small to help them or, understand that you appreciate them. Second, this goes back to the whole idea of maybe not raising lease rates to the maximum every year. Now, I fully support raising them when the market bears, but I generally don't raise rents every year for tenants that are paying. It'd be an every other year thing for me, right? I don't want them to feel like, oh, here it comes again, right? The landlord's going to, raise it again. If you've paid your rent on time for 12 months in a row and not really been a problem with me, there's every chance that you'll probably get a year or 24 months between rental increases. It's just these small things, right? I think if you actually raise rent on a tenant that has been paying, that's just basically a notice to like, okay, maybe I should look somewhere else. Instead of, let's just keep it rolling and keep it going. It's these things that are, these subtle things that we could do to treat tenants better that would have them stay longer. And that's what this is about, folks. It's about keeping tenant turnover low. And most of the time, that's about keeping happy tenants happy. I see far too much time with us talking about bad tenants and tenant evictions. The good news is the tenant eviction process is fully documented. You follow the laws of the state or the city, and you just go for it. So we need to spend more time thinking about our happy tenants and doing things to keep them there longer. And then the last thing kind of on this topic I wanted to highlight is, of all the tenants I've had, I don't know what the exact number is, but this will be close. I'd say 97% of them have been great people, just want to do, just want to do good things and do as they've said, and don't really expect anything crazy, just want to be treated well. I'd say 2% of them need gentle reminders, or you chase them a little bit for rents here and there, maybe 2-3 times a year. But we live in a world where it's paycheck to paycheck living, so you just never know when life events come in, and sometimes you got to chase people down. And all these horror stories of tenants, that is less than 1%. But when they're bad, boy, they're bad. And the real job is to try to figure out between the 2% and the ones that are just a small problem and the huge ones. And when you find a huge one, out, whatever it takes, right? Cash for keys, give them the full deposit back, I don't care, right? When you find one of those, get them out. So in the end, this business is simple. Buy and hold rentals can change your life, but we need to kind of flip what we talk about. Instead of talking about the problems and all of those stories, let's talk about the 97% of tenants that are great, wonderful people, pay rent on time, don't cause any problems, no drama, just do their thing. And I think we'd all be better for it. I think buy and hold rentals would get a better rap if we spent more time talking about the good tenants. And again, 97% of the tenants I've had over the last 16 years or so have been great people. And that's what I want to talk about today. So let's just remember, most of this business of buy and hold landlording involves working with great people that want to just have a safe, secure place to live, to raise their family and have a roof over their head. Yes, bad stuff happens, but it is a very small minority. So at the end of the day, hope that makes sense, and have a wonderful day.